Welcome to What Lies Ahead. I'm your host, Chris Ruffini, lead singer of the Long Island band Overthrow. On my podcast, I explore everything related to the hardcore scene through the eyes of artists, promoters, and record labels. As always, please like or subscribe on all social media platforms. Today, I'm joined by Popeye, the guitarist singer of Farside, one of the most respected bands to come out of the 90s scene. His distinct voice and songwriting helped shape a sound that was melodic and catchy. He's now part of Calling Hours, a project that released their debut in 2023 on Revelation Records, picking up where he left off, but with a fresh perspective. We're going to talk about his music, history, voice work that has shaped a decades-long career. Popeye, welcome to the show. Thanks for coming on.
Hey, thanks for having me on, Chris. Really appreciate the invitation.
Oh, of course. I really appreciate you coming on. You know, we were talking about this before we hit record, and you're definitely someone I wanted on here. You have an amazing musical journey, amazing creative, artistic journey as well. We'll get into everything that you do in terms of your voice work, videos, movies, music, everything. It's a lot to unpack, a lot of amazing things to unpack, and you're still going strong, and that's the awesome thing, you know.
It's been a good life.
Mm-hmm. So I guess we'll start kind of, somewhat from the beginning, obviously with Farside. And I remember hearing you guys in the mid 90s, but then really hearing in that in-flight program, the Rev collection from 97 with all the Rev bands, which was awesome. And at that point, I had a zine back in the day, the old paper and pen zines called What Lies Ahead. And Rev was amazing and would just send me stuff. And I remember getting that Rev collection and just falling in love with the first few tracks. And you obviously have an audience on there. It was such a great song with Farside.
Thank you.
So let's go back with the early days. How did you guys Farside originally come together? And what felt different at that point in time? You know, because 100%, it was like a different time than we're in now, obviously.
I mean, we were just guys that we just knew each other from the scene. We were young, and Rob Hayworth, who was our original guitar player, he was the one that put the band together, and he wanted to do something that was he played guitar for Hard Stance, and he wanted to do something that was a little more melodic, and so he just kind of reached out to to that was it. I mean, it's not that great of a story. It's just like, oh, I know a guy that plays drums, and oh, I know a guy that plays bass, and it just kind of came together that way. And we didn't really know what we were doing. We were just doing it. And as far as the era, um, I I mean, from my perspective, I didn't think that we were setting out to like be like game changers or anything. We were just trying to make music. Um, we just wanted to play music, and that was it. And amazingly, some people liked it, what we were doing, and so we just kind of kept going from there. But I, I I I understand what you're saying though, as far as um, hardcore in the '90s started to change a little bit, but we were just kind of in the middle of that storm, so it just kind of happened. There were so many bands that were doing different things, and um, I was just happy to be a part of it. I didn't think that Farside was, you know, revolutionizing hardcore by any means. Like we were just happy to play shows
Mm-hmm.
and get to record records and go on tour and do all of the cool things that bands get to do.
Yeah, and you did, and you guys always stood out. I thought musically, I thought you did. You had your voice is very distinct and catchy, melodic, introspective. It was more introspective. It was good. It was really ahead of its time. And that's what made it stand out. Now, was that in terms of when you were writing music back then? Was that like a conscious choice or just kind of a natural evolution into where you guys built with each album?
I think it was more of an evolution with each album, and we were all self-taught musicians. I'd never sung for a band before, so we were all. It felt to me like we were just kind of learning as we went along, um, but we worked well together, and we had the benefit of getting to work with um, Jim Monroe and E at For the Record Studios, and they kind of helped cultivate what we were doing. Plus, being on Revelation Records, Jordan Cooper was always such an incredible cheerleader for us, and so that helped with the motivation of trying to get things going. Um, as far as just putting out the best music that we could. But at the same time, we were in our 20s and we were all going to college and we were living on our own and we had to have jobs. And so it was never a full time thing, but it was something that we were always very, very passionate about. And mostly we just wanted to have fun,
Mhm.
like that's it. Like bottom line, we just wanted to have fun. We wanted to entertain ourselves and we wanted to make each other laugh. We had we rehearsal was oftentimes way more fun than playing shows
Mhm.
because we would just goof around and um, yeah. So I think I'm probably getting off track a little bit, but um, we just kind of did what we did. We weren't concerned about what anybody thought, and that was helpful and that was very um, freeing. Like we weren't concerned about what people were going to say about whatever song we did. We just wanted to like we like this song. We're going to do this song. Um, so it allowed us to kind of push the boundaries a little bit, and um, yeah, it was it was um, an incredible time just to be able to you know make music with those guys. It
And
was
it probably helped with the writing process too, right? Because if you're having fun, right, it's
yeah.
just probably easy and flowing. Like, so I'm guessing around that time, it sounds like just from the experience you have with the rehearsing. Is rehearsing is it could be better than you're right than going on a tour or playing
Yeah.
sometimes. Was with the rehearsing was the songs flowing like easily coming out because sometimes you're writing you're writing an album, whether it's you're writing your EP or you're writing where did you feel a time crunch with certain albums that you had to get out, or it was that fun, it was just we were getting together and this is what was coming out.
Our last album, the Monroe Doctrine, that that one took a long time.
Mhm.
But that's but I attribute that more to us being in our late 20s at that point, and we were taking on more responsibilities and adulting,
Mhm.
and so it got a little harder for us to all be in the studio at the same time. Um, and we kind of knew that that last album was probably going to be the last time we were ever going to be in the studio together. And so we were experimenting a little more, and maybe on a subconscious level, we didn't want it to end. And we went way over budget on that record. Fortunately, Jordan Cooper is still our friend, thank God. But yeah, it took a long time to pay off that record.
Now, is there any songs that you guys wrote back then that didn't make it? Like, I guess we're talking, the Monroe Doctrine, but like, for example, like, or did you guys go in like these are the set songs we have? This is it. Or when you went in, you're like, this one's not cutting it.
No, not everything made the cut.
Mhm.
We we weren't always that proficient. I can at least speak for myself. Like there would be songs that I would write music and lyrics in like an hour, and there
Mhm.
would be other songs that would take months for me to write music and lyrics for. Um, so pretty much everything that we ever came up with, as far as I can remember, pretty much everything we ever came up with got released in one way or the other. That being said, there was some of the songs that only took like an hour to write were some people's favorite songs, and other ones it's like, dude, I spent 7 months working on this song, and you like, what do you mean you don't like it? Like, come on. But
How did
that's that's the agony of defeat, I suppose.
Uh-huh. So you look back now at the Monroe Doctrine, like, and how it was received then, obviously really, well, and then obviously how it's looked at today. It's up there. It's a classic record. Like it is, and I know, for you to sit there and be like, oh, that's my record, but but it is perceived that way. So how do you look at it, like how it's looked at today, and even how you look at it today and how it was back then? Because even how you're describing it is like, all right, it was over budget. You kind of went into it like, okay, this is probably our last hurrah as a band here. How do you look at those two times, like now and then?
Um, Even then, as well as now, that's my favorite Farside record
Mm.
is the Monroe Doctrine. I felt like, and I still feel like the time we spent together. Um, well, I got to back up a little bit because when we did the Rochambeau record, that was when Rob Hayworth was still playing guitar for us, and he wrote. I wrote one song for the Rochambeau album, and Rob wrote everything else. And then when Rob left and Kevin Murphy joined the band, and then we did the Rigged album, that was like it was a completely different band because now like Kevin and I are
Mm.
writing everything collectively, and so that was new. And I felt like that's when we really started to, you know, kind of hmm, gain some ground as musicians and songwriters. And so then a few years after that, when we did the Monroe Doctrine, after having played together for a while, then like we really kind of dug deep into trying to be good songwriters. Um, and some people think we were, some people don't care, and that's fine.
Hmm.
But but um, as far as hindsight is concerned, yeah, the Monroe Doctrine I think is my favorite. Like being able to be a little more experimental with certain things, and you know, like using acoustic guitars a little bit more, and using clean channels on our electric guitars a little bit more, which we didn't really do too much on rigged. Um, so it yeah, that was definitely my favorite record,
Yeah.
and you know, and I'll listen to it once in a while, and I'll think, I wish we could have done that, you know, and every musician's going to say that, like you're the only one that can hear little things and think, oh gosh, I wish I would have done this other thing a little bit different, but then if you just kind of sit back and try to enjoy it, then you know, yeah, I absolutely love that record, and the reason why it's named the Monroe Doctrine is because Jim Monroe went above and beyond the call of duty to get
Mhm.
that thing done, and over the years had become such a great friend. Like we thought it was a good way to honor him.
That's cool, and it still holds true today, right? So that's amazing that it does that. It's like you're saying something. Did you feel too? It's like it's obviously one of your favorite. It's you just said it's one of your favorite records that you guys put out. You were in your later 20s at that point, as opposed to when you guys first started. So I guess you probably felt like as a band, though, there's some lineup changes here and there. But you said talking about that you guys were progressing musically, and that you felt that, like you said, acoustic guitar and utilizing stuff that you would have never thought of doing maybe 5 years prior to that, because you guys were progressing musically.
Yeah, and just just for me, like becoming a better guitar player
Hmm.
and becoming a better, or I want to think becoming a better songwriter, becoming a better singer, um, and you know, and those are things that I still that I still work on now, even in my 50s. But learning your limitations and what works for you and what doesn't work for you. Um, but that was another thing about that particular album is like, okay, stop trying to play so fast, stop trying to play so hard, stop breaking strings, learning how to take care of my guitar. and my gear used to drive all the other guys crazy because I was breaking strings constantly, and I didn't know jack diddly about um, how to take care of my stuff, and um, learning how to like warm up before we went on stage, which is something that I just kind of refused to do. But then finally, okay, maybe it's not a bad idea for you to make a cup of tea and stretch out a little bit before you get on stage if you're going to play 5 nights a week when you
Mhm.
go on tour.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, all of it was so encompassing, um, like well beyond the actual songs. Just the experience of being in that band for all those years, like, taught me so much. And I'm like I said, I'm still learning stuff, and I'm just incredibly grateful and humbled by the whole thing.
Yeah, it's a great all the other albums too good, but that's a great record. So you guys, you kind of knew that it was it discussed? You were like, okay, after this, we'll play out with it a little bit, and then or it just kind of felt like this is gonna be the the end to this, and then we'll move on to the second part of with love life without music, I guess.
Um, yeah, it wasn't really discussed. Like, it wasn't like decided like this is going to be our last record. I think
Knew it. Mhm.
we just all kind of knew it, and we did go on one final tour after that record came out, and we played a bunch of local shows, and then we just kind of realized, like, okay, come on, like like what else are we gonna do? like
Mhm.
like why don't we quietly bow out, before we start embarrassing ourselves. Um, yeah. So
And you ended like on your terms. So Farside's over, right? So what's next for you after that? What led you into these different avenues that you've been involved with since
um
at that point? Sorry.
yeah, I mean, at that point, I was already working as a magazine editor, and so I did that for several years, and then gradually got into voiceover work, and
I'm sorry.
and
Is that something you always thought of doing, or it just naturally happened? As like, all right, you're working at the magazine, something, a door opened, and you're like, oh, I could do this.
well, I realized that I really didn't like working on magazines, and I was looking for something else to do. Um, and enough people over the years had told me that I had a nice speaking voice, and just being a goofball, I could do impressions and other stuff. And so I happened to become friends with a woman who taught voiceover classes, and she said, "Why don't you come to a class and see what you think?" And so it just kind of led from there. And then a couple years later, got an agent and started booking commercials, and um, doing overdubs for movies and television shows, and um, yeah, a lot of video games. And I credit that to singing for punk rock bands for so many years, because I could be the loudest guy in the room. So I would usually get cast as, like, a villain or an ogre or a dragon or some 7 foot tall dude running around with a sword, because I could yell and scream my head off all day long. So
Mhm.
yeah, so I always appreciated that work. Um, and then I did your favorite train wreck with Jeff Caudell from Game Face. Um, Very proud of that album, and then eventually started doing Calling Hours a few years ago.
Yeah, and that's what'll lead me right into that's another great album. So
Thank
you
you.
obviously, you were involved in the arts, obviously after Far Side, and you mentioned the album that you did with that. Um, what brought you back to want to do Calling Hours? Like, how did that come about?
Um, I've never been one to start a band. So it usually takes somebody else to just kind of grab me by the back of my ear and say, "Hey, dude, we could use a singer or a guitar player. Why don't you jump in here?" So the other guys in Calling Hours are all from Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, and they've all known each other forever. And they've been in different bands and different musical projects, and just being part of that local hardcore scene. Um, we were introduced by a a promoter in that mid Pennsylvania area by the name of Jeremy Weiss, that we've all been friends with for decades. And I did an acoustic show, and we were just kind of hanging out, and they were well. I should say all the other guys in Calling Hours are in the band Don't Sleep with Dave Smalley.
Mhm.
But they were on hiatus at the time, and we were hanging out, and it was like, "So what are you guys doing? Is Don't Sleep doing anything?" And they're like, "Nah, not really. We're just kind of taking a break, but we like to get together and write music and jam once in a while. We have a bunch of songs. They're not really going to work for Don't Sleep. They're a little more melodic. We haven't found a singer yet." And I'm like, hmm. I'm like, well, hey, guess what? I'm not doing anything. Can I try out? And they were like, "Yep, we would love for you to try out." And they they the Don't Sleep stuff. They had worked with Brian McTernan um, on that, and one of them happened to be talking to Brian, and Brian and I go back a really long way, and we've always had kind of a um, mutual fanboy love for each other's work, but we've never actually worked together. So somebody mentioned to Brian, "Hey, we're kind of trying to start this new band, and Popeye's going to try out." And Brian said, "Okay, book studio time now.
Mhm.
Let's go in and let's start demoing some stuff." And so a few weeks later, we were in the studio together, and we're trying to remember each other's names, and just working on music. And we sent it to Jordan at Revelation, and he was
Yeah,
into it. And so yeah,
and there went. So with that, when that came about, did you have the number of songs that you guys had for that album, or there were more songs, or kind of the same question I guess I asked before with the other album with Farside? Did you go in with the number of tracks you had for that album, or you had others that you just picked and choose in terms of which ones you wanted to put on?
yeah. With Calling Hours, we had more material than we needed.
Mm.
So we were able to like pick and choose which ones we wanted to use. Um, we didn't fight too hard over which ones we liked better or worse, but it was like, hey, let's let's go into the let's go in, let's just record it, see what happens.
So,
But yeah, but then we ended up uh, hopefully trying to get the ones that we that we thought were the best songs.
mhm. Yep,
But
you
we had
did.
yeah we had some leftovers.
Mhm. Now, with the writing process, and I'll get into that leftover piece in a second. But with the writing process, how did you how did it feel writing like that again? Because you were writing for an album, right? Now, did you have the songs already written when you contacted Rev, or you had a few already written, knowing you were writing an album?
We we were careful to just because they were demos, and so they weren't perfect, and that was part of the demoing session with Brian. He you repeatedly told us the performance doesn't have to be perfect as long as we know what you're trying to do.
Right.
Um, and he cleaned things up a little bit, but we were careful to just send Rev like the cleanest sounding songs, which may have not necessarily been the best songs, but these are the ones that make us sound the most competent.
Right.
Might be a good way to put it. And I didn't want to feel like I was, leaning on Jordan with the long relationship that Farside had with Revelation. and also knowing that, Jordan's not necessarily gonna he's not gonna sign a band just for old time's sake. Like it's got to be good,
Right.
or he has to think it's good. So I think we only sent him like three of the 7 or 8 songs that we uh, demoed, just the ones that we thought were the strongest. Just
Yeah.
give him a little taste.
Give a
Yeah.
little idea, right? Right. So what was the
Yeah.
right? Yeah, so you talked about a little bit the writing process, like, and how was it like coming back again? And you probably had a lot to write about in terms of lyrically, in terms of stuff, in terms you wanted to talk about. So did you, with this album, did you have, let's just say, did you have like a notebook of lyrics, that of ideas and things you wanted to sing over, and then you heard the music and sang over it, or you need to hear the music and an idea comes and then you write the lyrics over it, and how you the cadence over the song?
Um, yeah, I didn't. I did not have a notebook of lyrics. Um, once the other guys sent me the music, then yeah, like just like you described, like you just listen to it over and over and over again, and certain things kind of pop into your head, and then that's when I would start just like scribbling out,
Mhm.
um, chicken scratch, just like, you know, um, um, and oftentimes it would just be like, they wouldn't be actual words. It would just be like onomatopoeia, like um, but also, recognizing that I'm now in my 50s. I can't sing like I'm in my 20s anymore, so I gotta make some adjustments there. Um, don't sound like you're phoning it in, but you're not in your 20s anymore.
Mhm.
Like you got to conserve your. I got to conserve my energy and conserve my voice, um, but also, what I was writing about, because at that point, um, I had been living in Pennsylvania for several years, and I was back in the suburbs, and um, married, and just had a bunch of cats, and that's about it. That was my life. So I had to try to get creative as far as, what do you write? Like, what are you going to write about, and how are you going to sing about it? Um, so it was really cool to, uh, like, not that I lost any of my idealism from my youth, but at the same time, like, am I going to try to write a song about, you know, a girl who broke up with me because I'm pretty happy, you know, like, that's not happening. Uh, I'm happily married,
Mhm.
and I have a lot of cats, and I live in a quiet neighborhood, so I don't have to don't really have to. I didn't have to dig into that area. It was just more about, just life in the suburbs and relocating from California to Pennsylvania. Um, so to me, that was a big part of the songwriting process for the Calling Hours record. Is like, okay, you're in your 50s now. Like, you're not as punk as you want to believe you you are. At least not as punk as you used to be. So be honest with yourself.
Mhm. Now, musically, did you write any music?
Not for that album.
Mhm.
Just the vocals and lyrics.
Mhm. Any so obviously, you said with the lyrics, I don't know what made me think this, but obviously you're more experienced lens now. Obviously, you're in your 50s writing an album, writing lyrics, and right, it's a little different than when you're in your 20s. So it's a different. Was there any
Right.
lyrics or a line or something like that that you had in your head, that you had written down in the Farside days that you never used that you were able to incorporate into this record?
Oh, uh, I I can't think of anything.
Mhm.
Um, but I suppose the, um, something that I learned with Farside in the earlier years, like I man, I wanted to be that, um, that hardcore singer that talked about issues and and could be like an inspiration to people, the way that so many great hardcore singers inspired me. Um, but I gradually learned that I wasn't really good at it, and so then I started just writing stuff that was more personal and introspective,
Mm.
and um, you know, not knowing if that was going to go over very well, but it did, and people
Yeah.
were like, "No, that's actually pretty good, man. Like, keep doing that." Like, what I'm going to say, racism is bad. Yeah, we know,
Mhm.
but talk about this breakup. Okay,
Mhm. Yeah.
that's good. We like that.
Mhm.
Um, so there wasn't anything that I felt like I didn't use decades later, but I certainly kept that in mind, like just what I was talking about. Like, there's so much that you can discuss as far as world issues are concerned, but I'm not good at articulating that kind of stuff. I can have a conversation about it. Singing about it, I'm not great at. So I'll just sing about my life.
Right.
Um, yeah, so I'm sticking to that.
Yeah, well, it resonates with people. They love that piece of it. The personal and hearing about that kind of stuff and the way it comes across in your songs. So thinking about calling hour starts, you guys get it going. Sounds pretty quick, like the way it got going and then the record. Was
It
this
was.
How was this looked at, or did it go so fast that okay, like, are we going to be a touring band? We're going to play when we get opportunities. We're just releasing a record. Was there that kind of plan laid out for it, or was just like, let's put this out and we'll see what happens here?
I can say that we were all from the get go. We were all in agreement that we weren't going to be a touring
Mhm.
band because we're old and we get tired, and we got shit to do at home. But yeah, so it's more like I mean, we're always keeping our eyes open, but we love playing music and we love having opportunities to go on like a long weekend or maybe a short tour. Um, we did get to, and it did happen rather quickly. And I think being on Revelation and me being the former singer of Farside had some stuff to do with that. I don't want to sound arrogant by any means, but
It helps for sure.
it helps. And yeah, so we got to do a tour with As Friends Rust. Um, that was in the fall of 2023,
Right after the
and
record. Yeah.
yeah, and that was and that was incredible. Those guys are amazing.
Mm.
And then last year we got to go play some shows in Germany with Be Well, which
Mm.
was also incredible. So that's kind of, I hate to sound like a jerk, but our, we're not making any money, but our motivation is traveling and food.
Yeah. And having fun,
So
right?
and having fun, because we're not going to be able to do this for too much longer. So but yeah, we love playing together. We love hanging out together. So it's more of a, yeah, like 3 to 5 days tops, and then we got to go home.
Mhm. Yeah, so you break it up, right? I mean, but that also keeps it going, keeps it moving strong and forward, obviously,
Sure.
for you guys. So how did you guys structure your set list then? You had the album. How did you go about it? You obviously pick all your album songs and stuff like that. Was there anything else you guys were throwing in at that point in time?
Um. Well, since the album came out, like we have written some more stuff. So there are a couple of songs that haven't been released yet that we kind of threw in there. Um, Earlier on, we would we would do a Farside song,
Mhm.
um, which despite my objections, the other guys were like, "Yeah, but the promoters would be really happy if you played a Farside song." I'm like, "Fine." Um, and it's not that I, hate Farside. It's just like I'm not in my 20s anymore. I can't sing like that anymore.
Mhm.
That's just me being a wuss. Um, but yeah, for the most part, we have it's the set list is like 90% of it is the same. We don't have that many songs.
Yeah, the
um,
album, right? So
but we don't play everything on the album, but sometimes we'll swap in and out a song here and there if we have an opportunity to rehearse it or can have a little debate about it when we're at rehearsal or in a text thread. Um, but yeah, we often talk about doing cover songs, but then we often take a step back and think, why are we doing cover songs? Like we have so much original material. Let's do that.
mhm.
Okay, we'll do a cover song. Like it just goes all over the place. But that's something that I love about the band is that it's like and the set list. It's like a living, breathing thing, and it's not totally concrete. Like you can change things every once in a
That's
while.
great. And it keeps it interesting for you guys.
Sure.
Yeah. So as part of your set list, so are there what are some of your favorite calling hours songs to play live? And do you look at streams? Like, do you do that? Because look, you come from a time when there was no such thing as streams, right? Like, you didn't. There was Spotify for
Yeah.
artists, all these things. You play based on feel. You go out, and that's how it was. Do you still keep that mentality with calling hours, or are you like, you know what? Like, hey, we're in Florida tonight, and this song's streaming really well over there. Do you even look into it that way?
Oh, I personally don't.
Mhm.
Um, I'm not super great with technology, so I don't even know how I would find that out. Um, Once in a while, I'll look us up on Spotify and go like, oh wow, a lot of people are streaming, but I wouldn't know how to differentiate like where they're coming from or who's watching our music videos or anything like that. As far as favorite songs, um, I'll tell. Yeah, this is a conversation that we had recently. My least favorite song to play is Gin Perry,
Oh, really?
because
Okay.
it and it's really just because, and I love the song, but it's kind of buried like later in the set, and by that point, I'm a
Yeah.
little winded, and so it's kind of hard to hit some of those notes. So I have had this discussion like, hey, can we move this up like earlier in the set a little bit, like when I'm still like feeling okay. Um, yeah, another cautionary tale of learning how to like relearning how to write songs when you're half a century old.
Mhm.
Um, like, okay, you either need to do more cardio or you need to rethink your songwriting or both. That's a better idea.
Mhm. Yeah.
But yeah, the rest of them I don't really have like my mentality is if I can get through the song in one piece, great. Um, but but and not throw up on stage. Jim Perry's just it can get a little challenging sometimes.
Mhm. So if a new record comes out, which we'll get into that at the ending, sounds like that one may not be on the, the set list anymore, or it'll be up closer. It'll be on the beginning of the set list where it's
Yeah,
yeah.
no, we're gonna yeah. Hopefully, we'll go for a more of a Leonard Cohen kind of vibe, and so I could just kind of I can just like sit down, on the stage and
Mhm.
just hey, do something like that.
When you sit back, you have, we're sitting here talking about it, and it's, when I was trying to put together how I'm structuring the questions for you, and it's just because you have such a storied musical career, and then with the movies and all the other stuff, it's like we're talking about Far Side, and it's like, I wanted to build it up, and you have so much stuff that you've been involved in, which is so awesome. It's like you don't want to miss anything, which I'm talking to you about. But do you ever sit and stop and think about that? Like, wow, like I've been doing this since the 90s and you've done A, B, C, and D. You've had all these awesome experiences, but you sound like, someone who loves it. You're in the moment. That's what I'm getting out of all this. I've read other interviews. I've read interviews. I've seen you in other interviews with stuff and that you really enjoy it. But do you ever just take a step back and be like, wow, this has been pretty cool. Pretty cool ride here.
It, it happens multiple times every day.
It's awesome.
It's not lost on me at
Mhm.
all. Um, I mean, geez, I had a I had like two lifetimes
And by
worth
the way,
of.
I apologize. I don't mean that in a way of like you are sitting there with this ego or anything. I mean it more of like you are just you're always looking to do stuff and you're always having fun with it.
Yeah.
You're super
Oh no,
appreciative. I just if you really like, holy shit, look at all this I've all the stuff that's gone
yeah,
on the last
yeah,
music career.
that's exactly it. Like
Mhm.
I'll be doing just some completely random task. Like I'll be doing the dishes or I'll be composing an email and out of nowhere, ding, oh, remember that one time where there was that guy and that place and that thing and wow, how cool that you got to do that. It happens multiple times every single day without fail.
Awesome.
Um, it's it's not lost on me one bit. Um, and I am incredibly grateful that that I got to do all these things and all the amazing people that I got to become friends with, and I still continue to make friends. Like, dude, I hope you and I are gonna be friends after
Absolutely.
this, Chris.
Mhm.
Um, and the traveling and getting to play music and um, yeah, it's kind of ridiculous if when you think about it. And I think a lot of that's just based on like a like my lifelong friends and my family, um, even like basic stuff that was terrific, and then everything else after that was just like an added bonus.
Yeah.
Um, and but yeah, when I all the time I think back about stuff and I'm like, I can't believe that I got to do that. Like what in the hell? How did you get to do that?
Yeah.
You know,
It's
um,
awesome. It really is. And it just hit me while we were talking with that. So what does like when you think back, like I guess another kind of like a personal reflection. And we've kind of like talked about it a little here, but what does it mean making music now versus when you were starting out?
um, whew, I I I guess when I was starting out, I I just wanted to be in a band because I thought being in a band would be cool and maybe girls would like me. Um, that part didn't really work out, but I got to be in some bands, and that was amazing. But even going earlier than that, like just wanting to learn how to play the guitar and wanting to learn how to sing and wanting to try to scribble out lyrics. I thought those would be cool things to do when I was in high school. Um, and then it just kind of builds on there. Like, oh wait, you're gonna be in a band and you're gonna play a show. Like you're gonna get up on a stage in front of people and play a show. Okay, that is the most frightening thing I could ever imagine, but it still seems pretty cool. And then going into a recording studio for the first time, um, things that you only daydream about, but then suddenly, oh yeah, you're recording a record. Wait, what? Um, and it just kind of grows from there. And so uh, I I, I want to believe that I have the same attitude about all of that stuff now, like what we were talking about earlier about rethinking songwriting and lyric writing at this stage of my life. But also, I still get super nervous whenever we have a show or
Mhm.
go into a studio. And I, and I suppose I've over the years learned how to make that work to my advantage. and take that kind of nervous energy and turn it into adrenaline and grace under pressure and that kind of stuff. Um, but yeah, and it never feels like never feels like drudgery. Um, Secretly, I'm hoping that everything gets canceled, and then I can just go take a nap. Uh, but but when it's happening, then it is the best thing in the world.
Yeah.
And yeah, and that part has never changed. Like, this is the best thing in the world.
Yeah. No matter how many times you do it, right? It's still that
Yeah,
same what you described, that excitement,
yeah,
that nervous energy, which is you have that, you still love it, right? That's to me, it's
yeah,
fire that still burns.
yep. And even if I suck, still the best night of my life.
Yeah, there's nothing better than it. It really is. So I guess looking ahead a little here, kind of, you kind of mentioned it a little before. What's next for Calling Hours? Like, you sounds like you're writing some songs. Is there an idea to make another album? Would it be with Rev? Um, you're not tour, but you probably play out a little bit for it. Like, so what's the plan for Calling Hours moving forward?
Yeah,
You guys almost 3 years actually in November, right? It'll be that the album came out, so
yeah,
which is crazy.
yeah, we did. We Yeah, I know. Yeah, we've got plenty of material, and we keep writing more songs.
Awesome.
Yeah, it'll we'll be doing another record on Revelation. Um, so it's really just a matter of kind of honing it down and doing some more demoing sessions to figure out which ones we like more than others. Um, and we're very happy that we're getting close to summer because yeah, winter sucked because we didn't play for several months. Like being an East Coast based band, it's tough to play in the wintertime just because of the weather.
Mhm.
Um, so now we're happy that things have thawed out and people are coming out of hibernation. We got to play a couple of really great shows. We played one in April in Harrisburg with Cursive, and then we just played a show a couple of weeks ago in New Jersey with I Am the Avalanche.
Yeah. I
So
had
those
Vinny.
were.
I had Vinny on here. It's coming out in a couple of weeks. Yeah, they're great. I
I
am the
saw I saw you I saw you post about that. Yeah, it was like that was the first time I had actually met him, but we have a lot of mutual friends. Yeah, the guy's a sweetheart.
best. Yeah.
Um, yeah, so that was a really great show, and so we're working on booking some other stuff for this summer, and looking forward to that, and just wanting to get back into the studio to, like, okay, we've got a lot of music. Let's just start banging it out and just have some marathon sessions and see what we like. And Rev is still backing us, so that's
That's
good.
great. That's great. That's
Yeah,
exciting. People want to hear it. So hopefully the end of the year you'll be in this done recording, like give or take. I mean, you know how these things work sometimes, but hopefully, like that's hopefully the
absolutely.
plan, right?
Yeah.
It's exciting. So one, do you ever see yourself revisiting anything ever Far Side related, or that's chapters like that's closed?
Um. Well, funny you should say that because we're actually playing a reunion show um June 22nd in
Oh, okay.
California.
And that'll
Um,
be happen after this comes out. So yeah.
yeah, we'll see how that goes because we're gonna we will have time for two rehearsals, um, 2 days before the show. It's a benefit show for I don't know if you know who Big Frank Harrison
All right.
is.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, who
Yes.
did Nemesis Records and
Yes.
um,
Okay. Yeah. Okay. That's
exactly right. Well, yeah, so he passed
good that
away,
you
and
guys.
so
Yeah.
yeah, so there's this benefit show that's happening to kind of set up a trust fund for his daughter,
That's nice.
and so we decided to come out of hibernation. We're being really careful about it. We're only doing 4 songs.
Oh, so my next was like, I wonder what the set list is like. So you're gonna do four. Okay. How do you pick
We're
four
doing
songs?
four.
Or- You added your whole catalog, so that must have been tough.
Uh, Not really. We were just like, what are the easiest songs to do? What are the least taxing songs to do? Just to deal with the body aches and things like that. Um, so that's happening on June 22nd. And then we'll see what happens after that. Maybe we'll do it again, maybe not. But this is, Frank was a good guy to so many people, and it's a good cause. And so,
Yeah.
yeah, so amazingly, we all agreed to do it. And the thing is, like, all of us in Farside, like we never stopped being friends. Like, it wasn't like it was an ugly breakup or
Yeah.
anything. Um, we just decided to call it a day and move on. Um, and yeah, so now it's like, okay, let's let, let's see if we can do this. Let's see if we can get through 4 songs, and then
Easy
maybe
picking the 4 songs? Was it
what's
easy?
that?
Was it easy picking those 4 songs?
It was pretty easy.
Okay,
Yeah,
that's good.
yeah. The ones that aren't too physically taxing
Right.
for everybody.
And it's for a great cause, and that's what it's all about. So,
There.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it's going for the right reason, and there's a reason. That's a reason to come back together, honestly, to play that.
Yeah.
So, awesome.
Yeah, and we're just going to be like musical raccoons, 20-minute set. We get in, get what's good, get out.
Right, right, and
And
then
that's it.
hang and right.
And then just hang.
So I have one last question here, and then we'll get into. I have a bunch of questions after, and you give me your first thought that comes to mind or answer that comes to mind. If you want to elaborate, you can do that. But let's end with this here. What advice would you give yourself if you went back in time as a teenager? And it could be anything,
Uh,
professionally, musically, you name it, doesn't matter.
don't start smoking. I finally quit about 2.5 years ago, but
Okay.
geez, like decades of smoking. Like, as far as I know, like I didn't. I mean, I can't tell if it really did much damage. Um, but yeah, that would be that would be the biggest piece of advice. Um, I mean, I did pretty well in school, and yeah, I don't think I did anything. I was a pretty good kid, even though I was a punker. I didn't really do anything
Mhm.
that stupid other than pick up smoking. So that's the thing I would tell
Yeah.
myself.
All right. So here are some questions. And first thing, like I said, the first thing that comes to mind. If you want to elaborate, obviously, go ahead.
Yeah.
So you have a lot of them here. So you might have more than one here. A song that you wrote that you're most proud of.
Hmm. Oh, I don't. Well, I don't know. Maybe not the most proud of, but my favorite Farside song was "Hero"
Hmm.
on our first 7-inch. That was. It's probably had something to do with the fact that it was the first track on the first 7-inch that we recorded at Don Fury Studios in New York. That was always my favorite Farside song. So I guess, yeah, that's probably the one I'm most proud
Not calling hours.
of. Not Jen Perry. Uh, oh, Curtain Call.
It's a good song. Both are.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that one. Yeah, that was a very collaborative song, and um, yeah, I'm very happy with the way it came out.
So this could mean, and when I say the word, I'm going to say favorite tour, but it could also mean if you did a run with someone for a week, or it could have been a 2 month tour. It could be anything. What was you probably have a few of them thinking back with everything you've done in your career. It's a favorite tour you've been on.
Oh gosh, you know what? That's a tie because the first Farside tour in the summer of 1992 was so ridiculous because we didn't really know what we were doing,
Hmm.
and that was back when bands would go on tour for 6 weeks, which bands don't really do anymore. Um, and we had no money, and it was just ridiculous, you know. And we had nothing. We were touring on a 7-inch. Like our first album had not come out yet, so we were touring on a 7-inch. And the fact that they're on Revelation eventually. So yeah, that was just a crazy road trip. Um, and it's not like I hadn't seen America before that, um, but without parental supervision, when you're 21 years old and you got like $5 in your pocket, uh, yeah, it was insane. And I want to think mostly in a good way. It was insane.
Mhm.
Um,
Amazing, probably
and
learning experience, what you learned on the road. I mean,
oh my God, yeah,
yeah.
so much, like learning how to pack appropriately, learning how to budget your money. Oh man, yeah, it was nuts. And then the tie is the As Friends Rust tour that I mentioned earlier. Um, and it had so much to do with the guys in As Friends Rust. Like
Yeah.
they were just such incredible guys, and we hit it off with them like right out of the gate. Um, and again, like now we're older. None of us had been on tour for a really long time, so we were kind of relearning how
Mm.
to go on tour. And it was only 9 shows, um, which we agreed was like let's too much. Let's not do 9 shows in a row anymore. Um, but those guys made it. They made it so fun, and we had such a great time. And getting to go to Europe, um, yeah, that was. So I'm gonna say those two were my favorite tours.
And it's interesting too. So most people, a lot of people I've had on when I've asked that question, similar to what you said, with their favorite tours have been with bands that they had. They don't even talk about the shows. It's more about the bands you're out with, and then the camaraderie, the relationship, and the time that you have. That's real. It's most bands say that. Like most people I've had on here have had similar responses in terms of the
Huh?
tours that went on. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
Mhm.
No,
That's you know.
yeah. No, I firmly believe that. Well, yeah, and and I mentioned the more recent tour with As Friends Russ, but that first tour that we did, that Farside did, we got to play a few shows with our good friends Game Face, and
Mhm.
that was like, oh my God, like it's like, well, I see you like all the time back in California, but when you see your buddies in Memphis, Tennessee, or Little Rock, Arkansas, like it's just it's different, you know. So they had a lot to do with being a huge highlight of that tour. But yeah, the camaraderie of yeah, we're out here, we're doing this thing, and we're young and kind of reckless, or maybe just idiots. I don't know what we're doing, you know, but we're doing it.
So what favorite you've played a lot of different places. Your favorite state to play?
Um,
And you could have multiple. Which is probably
hmm,
cool.
I'm gonna. I don't think I'm gonna. Well, hopefully, I'm not insulting too many people. I'm gonna say it's a toss up between New Jersey and Pennsylvania.
Hmm. Okay.
New Jersey has always had great scenes. Pennsylvania has always had great scenes, specifically Middle Pennsylvania.
Hmm.
Um,
Enjoyed this. So
yeah.
your favorite venue that you've played? And you can even go
Hmm.
back to the Far Side days if there's a venue that you're like, ooh, that was a good one to play.
Huh. I mean, if you played a spot on the Sunset Strip, like
Mm.
the the Whiskey or the Roxy or down the street at the Troubadour, you kind of felt like you arrived because you're playing LA, and it's and it's super professional, they've got sound technicians all over the place, and it sounds incredible. Um, the the show might be hit or miss. Actually, no, the shows are always good every time we get to play at one of those joints. But um, I don't know. I always enjoyed the down and dirty kind of joints where the PA system was just for the vocals and that's it, and
Mhm.
you just playing it like a playing like a hall show. Um, yeah, I don't know. And that being said, there I like getting to play like other famed places like Maxwell's in Hoboken or playing at CBGB's. Yeah, you stand up a little straighter after you after you
Yeah.
play one of those joints. Like, hey man, I can buy a CBGB shirt and not be a poser because I played here tonight. Um, but yeah, that's the only way I can look at it because I mean I wouldn't say that there's a particular venue that I would ever say yes to automatically or say no to automatically.
Right. Do you prefer a festival or a club show?
Club show,
Club show. It's
yeah,
your
because I
top.
get tired. I don't want to
Yeah.
sit through like 15 bands. It's like, oh my god,
Yeah.
the food is usually better at a festival show, but yeah, club show like you can kind of get in and out a little more quickly.
And hang a little bit, right?
Yeah,
Um,
hang a little bit.
your top three, well, let's say your top three most influential albums all time for you.
Ooh, the Clash self-titled album, the green one. Um, Descendants, I don't want to grow up, and um, Elvis Costello's first album.
Cool. A band or artist you like that may surprise people.
Hmm. Oh, surprised that you mean surprised that I like them?
Yeah. Like, oh, that's one's out of
Okay.
left field.
Oh, I thought Hootie and the Blowfish were pretty cool.
They had some good songs. They did. So that's definite surprise, though. Yeah. So yeah, they did have a couple of good ones. I do remember that.
Good songwriting.
It is.
Darius Rucker's got a good voice.
Yeah, he's doing like country now or something like that. I think so. I don't or
Oh,
something
is
like.
that right?
I'm just making that up. I'm not sure,
Oh,
but I
okay.
know
He
he's
may
doing
as
some
well be. I
stuff.
wouldn't know.
Yeah. All right, a couple more here, Papa. What did you listen to last?
Um, uh, Black Flag,
No.
Damaged.
Awesome. All right, last one here. Some new bands that you like.
I don't know any. I, I don't listen to music very much, to be honest.
Mhm.
Um, I get kind of distracted if I listen to something. If I listen to music or podcasts, for that matter, because I'll lose focus and then after a few minutes I'm thinking, wait, weren't you in the middle of something? Oh, Jesus, you're supposed to be working. Yeah, yeah, yeah. You got to send that email, or you were folding laundry, or whatever.
Mhm.
Um, so don't, I can't think of any new bands
Mhm.
because and I have Spotify Premium, so I have access to everything. But if I do listen to music, then it's like, I guess I could, yeah, I guess I'll listen to 7 Seconds again, or an album I've heard a bazillion times. That's why when you ask what's the last thing you listen to, it's like, oh, I guess Black Flag would be cool while I'm, slicing up vegetables or getting ready to make a stir fry.
Uh-huh.
So I'm sorry, I cannot recommend any new bands at this point.
All good. No, all good. Popeye, thank you so much. This
Oh,
was a
you know what?
good.
A newish band, uh, new-ish, Low Coast,
Okay.
which is with Jeff Caudell from Game Face. That's his new
Okay.
band. Their album came out like maybe a year and a half ago. Really good. It's kind of got like sort of a. It doesn't sound like Game Face, but it's a more earthy kind of vibe to it. But we're checking out. Like I did just uh, listen to it last week when I was on a drive. I was like, man, this is a great album.
Cool.
So yeah, Low Coast.
Cool. Popeye, thank you. This was an awesome conversation. Before we head out, anything you want to end with?
Not really. I think I told you about everything I know.
No, it was a
But
great conversation. Thank you.
yeah, Chris, thank you so much for the invitation, and hey, shout out to to Pete for setting this up.
Absolutely. Thank you. So just hang tight. Well, let me just end it off here and then we'll chat up when we're off.
All right, sounds good.
Thank you for listening to the What Lies Ahead podcast, which is available on all streaming platforms. Go save the What Lies Ahead podcast playlist on Spotify that features all bands that were on the show. For more information on future episodes, you can go to my Instagram account and follow at What Lies Ahead _podcast and on Facebook by searching What Lies Ahead podcast. See you on the next episode.